Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this week's new episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Mr. BoomStick XL. And folks, we have an incredible show planned for you today. Not only are we going to be talking Halo Infinite single player, not only are we going to be talking about how Crystal Dynamics has teamed up with, of course, the initiative to bring us their unbelievable new version or rebooted or revamped version of Joanna Dark. We're going to be talking about Alan Wake, what that means to everyone on this panel, whether or not we are day one on the remaster. But folks, we have breaking news to get into, some major news that just dropped almost an hour ago, right before we went live, that we're going to get into. And we're going to be going down. Right now, it's raining here in New Rochelle, but not in Speculation Town, where we have a new co-mayor in the form of Mav. Fun Speculation. Folks, this is going to get messy. It has 3 co-mayors, and Zemi is the mayor of his own place. He'll be breaking down what he is the mayor of momentarily. Zemi Games, first of all, brother, welcome back to the program. This is the man, the cog that keeps this show running each and every week. Welcome.
Well, thank you. Yeah, man, super excited to be here as always. Can't wait to jump into the news, man. I've been really busy these last couple of weeks, just collecting so many achievements, and Italian Clowns, or Clowns as a lot of people know him. He's catching up to me right now. So after this show, I think I'm gonna have to go and buy
40,000 gamer score in 1 month.
I think it's like 59,000 now, and he's coming close to me. So I might have to buy some more games and knock out some more achievements. I don't know if I can let him beat me.
You know what? Yeah. I wish I could play that many games, because right now I'm in the middle of 6 of them. I'm still mad addicted to Animal Crossing, which I play with the missus every night. So that's why I'm not. Yeah. I mean, it's not like I don't have a lot of time to play. I honestly don't have that much time because of the 4 shows that I produce. But at night, I'm just having so much fun with Mrs. Boom, and we have 2 Switches, and we're just hanging out and having a good time. We haven't done that in many, many years, so I'm having fun with that. So, my God, almost 60,000 gamer score in a month. That is ridiculous. So good on you for that. Yeah. Listen, we're going to get to your commentary about the breaking news, which I will break down momentarily. But let's welcome in Pong Soul, who is rocking the obviously DC. Very, very famous Green Lantern. Are you a fan there, Pong?
There we go. How about that? Yes, absolutely. I think Green Lantern would actually make a fantastic game. So
it absolutely would. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So no, what a great day. Tuesday, I had some technical issues. Got into the green room with minutes to spare, and then I find out that through an undemocratic process, all of a sudden, Fun Speculation, which he's got the name, is now co-mayor. So this is an interesting day, but man, love seeing the Avengers drop in. We talked about this on the show before, Boom. We thought this should have happened a long time ago. 100%. Obviously, we got some details that this might have been a Sony blockade that was preventing this from happening, but here we are today, so can't wait to talk about that. But man, we got games, and we got more games, and now we got more games. So this is amazing. So great to be here with all my brothers. And obviously, it's always great to have Mav on here with us. So hey, let's get down to business, Boom.
Yes, absolutely. And speak of the devil, this is Mav, Fun Speculation. Not only has he been on the show almost every week for the last couple of weeks, which is great for the show, he has a new show that he's going to be announcing that he's did on Twitter, but we're going to kind of help push that message and that narrative out there. Mav, welcome back, brother.
Hey, thanks for having me, Boom. Again, as always, it's great to be here. Shout out to Zemi and Pong. And what was that when we said that we were in Speculation Town? Zemi, what was that? Was that place that you said you like to hang out in?
Pessimist Plaza. Beautiful place. Right. Beautiful place.
Yeah.
You'd love the people there.
It's full of gray walls, gray ceilings, gray floors, no decorations, no windows. You're sitting on the floor.
That sounds like where they put people maybe in Arkham. That sounds like an Arkham
wonderful.
Asylum.
Yeah. You guys would love it. You guys should visit sometime. It's great.
Yeah.
Once you go in, you check in, you don't check out. Which is very
scary. You don't come out. Yeah. I'm allowed to leave and come whenever I want. That's
nice.
just because I'm the owner. Right.
Excellent.
So Hey, you're invited to Speculation Town anytime you want to come for a visit.
Well, thank
Sunny
you.
and 70, brother. Cotton candy
Let's
on
go.
every corner. It's a good place to hang out.
Yeah, man. And speaking of the new show, Boom, thanks for letting me say a little bit about it. Hey, coming on October 9th, we're adding another show to Fun Speculation.
Nice.
This one is the namesake. It's going to be a staple of the channel, much like Xbox Ultimate is and Fun Pop. This is going to be FSP, Fun Speculation Podcast, and we have assembled a
Nice.
panel that includes Phasma, who writes reviews for Season Gaming. She's awesome, very smart. Gaming Key, a great streamer. He was like kind of a mentor for me almost in my chats and stuff when I just got started. As well as you know him from the Shop podcast. Pong knows him very well. The guy with the smooth tones, Fuzzy Belvedere. But another great guy that likes to play and everything. And this is going to be a podcast where we cover all platforms, not just Xbox. So going to be a lot of fun talking about all that kind of stuff. And we'll try and do things a little different, make the show unique compared to some other shows that are out there. So we're coming up with ideas right now. That's coming on October 9th for the first show. It's going to be Saturdays at 6 p.m. Eastern. So look out
Yeah.
for that, guys.
Yeah, definitely going to be looking out for that. That's something to be excited about. And obviously, you are now running into the same place where I am, where there's no longer just one or two shows. You're going to have a network of programs, and that's great. That's great for the for the growth of the channel, and obviously different podcasters like I have on my show. It's a good way to open up people to your voice and other people's voices, which is something that I enjoy doing. Folks, let's get right into the breaking news. And this is a big deal for a lot of reasons. It was just announced, and I pulled an article. There was many articles, but I specifically pulled an article from videogameschronicle.com where they have confirmed that Marvel's Avengers is coming to Xbox Game Pass for console and PC this week. And what is interesting, folks, is that every piece of post-launch heroes and missions are included in this. That means you get everything. That means you get Black Panther. That means that you get every hero that has been released that has a separate side story. You're going to get a chance to play, and all for the price of your free if you're already paying your subscription, or your $15 a month if you decide to pony up, if you will, and become an Xbox Game Pass member. And honestly, I don't know why you wouldn't, but this is I got a couple of quotes here from Hunter Wolf, who is the community coordinator over at Crystal Dynamics, and this is what he had to say. Every player with an Xbox Game Pass membership can experience the full game and all of our post-launch heroes and missions. This includes 4 story campaigns that showcase one or more heroes' unique abilities, as well as our Avengers Initiative, our evolving online multiplayer world that lets you and 3 friends play as any hero in our roster and embark on global adventures. He also added, Marvel's Avengers is an evolving game with ongoing updates that add new playable heroes, missions, villains, campaigns, and events, and Xbox Game Pass members will get to experience all of it this week. This is a big deal. This is a really big deal. A lot of people skipped out on Avengers. Honestly, it wasn't great at its launch. I want to go first to Mav on this, because Mav, we were talking in the green room, and you had some interesting things to say. Why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, I was actually, when this news dropped, I immediately went live on our channel, and I did this thing just because my mind was just popping with this, because this is too coincidental for me.
Yes.
Okay.
And we're gonna go. Listen, folks. Let me just stop you right there. This is where I have to say that what we're going to talk about is speculation. It is opinion based. We're going to try and do. We're going to try and pull a Detective Clouseau here and put these things together. I think Mav is on to something. I told him that in the green room. I'll say it live on the air. He has an amazing point of view that I think that actually might be on to something. But please, by all means, Mav, take it away.
Right. So yeah, again, this is speculation, guys. This is what I do, right? This is goes to my head.
This is what we all do, Mav. It's not just you, it's all of us.
and it's fun, right? I
Yes,
know that some people
fun
don't like it
speculation.
because
I
they
love
only
it.
want to talk about, things that have actually happened. But when things happen in a certain sequence or things become a little too coincidental and stuff, it gets my mind firing, and I gotta tell people what I'm thinking, right? So right now, this is what I'm thinking, and I know that there's a lot of other people thinking these things too. Okay, last week we got an announcement that surprised everybody. It was unusual. It was an unusual announcement in the way that it was made. It came out of nowhere, and that was that Crystal Dynamics is working with the initiative on Perfect Dark, and it was
Yes.
promoting Crystal Dynamics, which is not something that we usually see often when these kind of deals happen, right? I was excited about the news because I actually love what Crystal Dynamics is capable of, including when they rebooted Tomb Raider, and we talked all about that before. Okay, you add that up into out of nowhere, again, a couple of days later,
Yeah.
this announcement that Crystal Dynamics' biggest current game is coming to Game Pass in a couple days. Out of nowhere, this announcement was made. Now, you could chalk this up to a lot of things. You could say that, hey, it's just time that their exclusivity deal is expired with PlayStation. That may be when I say exclusivity deal, I mean marketing rights deal, where they basically don't allow games to enter other services, much like the leaked contract that had happened before with Capcom, right? But when I go back and remember that Capcom contract, I remembered that it had language in there that it kind of extended past that year. So if it was written exactly like that Capcom contract, this would be too early. The other thing is, if if Xbox is going to a third party publisher and getting help from their biggest Western studio, less than a week later to have that same studio's biggest game come to Game Pass, it makes me think that there was some kind of deal or partnership or something that has taken place.
You can say it live on the air, folks. Acquisition, possibly.
Possibly. So now, what could that be? Could it be a acquisition of the Western branch of Square Enix? Could it be an acquisition of Square Enix as a whole? I think that's going too big, personally, myself. Right? I think it's one of the two things is happening with these pieces, because of the way the announcements were made, the timing of it, the coincidental nature of it being very close together. Crystal Dynamics is in our we're saying their name a lot this past week, right?
Yeah.
Also, we have had rumors before of Square Enix being potentially looking to make deals like this. So let's say it's a Western acquisition of their Western branches, right? That include Eidos Montreal, it include Crystal Dynamics and all that kind of stuff. That would be a big move from Xbox. It also fit that, hey, you all of a sudden got studios that can make third person action adventure games beyond Ninja Theory, right? There's a lot of reasons why it would make sense for Xbox. So that's a very strong possibility. And you also have the Daryl Gallagher connection. If you're to have
100%.
somebody to help make that deal work, a connection with the publisher, somebody who's used to working with them, you have that in, right? You have that relationship there. There's something going on beyond just coming to Game Pass. This was already in the cards. I think there's more to this because Crystal Dynamics is working on a first party Xbox game.
Look, here's the
Back to
thing.
back
You are absolutely on to something. And again, right now it's breadcrumbs, right? We're trying to kind of maybe, just to, draw up some conversation that maybe some other podcasts aren't having. We know that Pong is going to talk about this. We know that you are going to talk about this on your upcoming episodes. And here we are today on the new episode, an hour before we go live, we get this breaking news. And of course, now we're starting to see some correlation between Crystal Dynamics and Microsoft a little bit more than them just announcing last week. And obviously, we'll talk a little bit about that. Obviously, it was announced and almost like just dropped. Hey, here you go. We're working with them. I thought and they did it. They did it in a way where I didn't think it was grand enough. It should have been an Xbox Wire announcement. Personally, but the relevance of it is tremendous. We have heard, and this is where I bring out I don't have a fraud alert like King David. I definitely got to get one in a different color, because this is where I pull out the fraud card. There were a lot of trolls who of course will remain nameless, because we don't embark on those kind of journeys on this particular channel, and neither do any of you. So we're not going to go down that. They are who they are, and we are who we are. But there was a lot of real concern trolling going on when it was announced that the Poor Initiative, the Quadruple A studio, needed help to finish Perfect Dark. And it turns out that of course was false, because they had already spoken up many times where they didn't want to grow into this monster studio. They wanted to stay agile, is the term that they used. And I kind of want to just bring up some, check yourself before you wreck yourself numbers. If I'm not mistaken, and I'm not, 14 studios helped finish The Last of Us 2. And that turned out to be, for some people, the game of their entire existence. For me, a bit of a disappointment that Zemi thinks otherwise, but everyone is entitled to their opinion. I just hated the story. I hated the way it was told. Everything else was great, typical Sony fashion, but 14 studios, folks, 4 helped finish this game, and they still don't have factions out. So let's pump the brakes a bit and say, well, Crystal Dynamics did something with a dead franchise in Tomb Raider. And I think it was King that actually said this, and it was an amazing point. He talked about this on Friday's Breakfast with Boom. He said that they desexualized Lara Croft, and I think that was such a strong, important point, because he's right. She was a sex symbol back in the days when she was first released. The big breasts, the skinny waist, they used to move. That's what sold the game. And it turns out that the character and the lore and everything that went with who Lara Croft is as a person was rebonded in what Crystal Dynamics was able to do with the trilogy. And what they did is they made a very, very powerful female lead that was judged by her actions as a heroine and not just a sex symbol. And I thought that was an incredible point. And that same team, those same developers that found a way to reignite what Lara Croft is as a symbol, were able to do something amazing. And that same team is going to come and help. And they said it. They both Crystal Dynamics and the Initiative said it on Twitter, that they're thrilled to be working with each other. Specifically, Crystal Dynamics said that we're going to take our talent and reimagine another old hero. And I think that who better to do it? But Pong, Mav is on to something here, because you and I talked about this before. We don't believe in business coincidences. It's just not a thing in business. In life, sure. You go to the lotto store and you get a ticket here, and coincidentally you forgot that you had one that was a winner in your pocket. What a coincidence! Wow, that doesn't happen in business. And I think he's on to something. I want you to take this ball and run through Speculation Town. Could there be something more than just a team, helping Xbox?
Yeah. First of all, am I popping still?
No, you're good.
We're complaining that I was popping. Okay, it was probably my phone being too close to the mic. Okay, so let's roll with this, because it is sunshine 75. The unicorns are prancing.
Love it.
There's rainbows everywhere.
Love it.
So this is a great
and everyone's
time.
Welcome. Remember that.
Yes,
Everybody
is welcome. So this is fantastic. Let's go here. Tour is open. Crystal Dynamics, what Mav was talking about as far as the Avengers go. Let's talk about the Avengers first, since we're doing that first. So the Avengers deal, I believe, was just the end of the deal with Sony. Paul Tassi kind of confirmed that this morning on Forbes. From what he's hearing, this was a time deal. But as we had talked about, Boom, Square needed Avengers to go into Game Pass 6 months ago. Okay.
100%.
At least. Okay. We had talked about this many times that I thought it was crazy that Avengers was not in Game Pass. Now we find out that Sony had kind of the blockade on it. And that makes sense. We talked about this before too. As Game Pass grows, it is going to be harder and harder for Sony to cut those types of deals because obviously Square could not get Avengers into Game Pass fast enough as soon as this deal ended. This game, unfortunately, at this point, has lost so much of its player base, and it's not even going to have cross-platform play with Sony, which stinks.
And that's all on Sony. Let's make that perfectly clear. Sony has done that, which is disgusting.
That's why these deals are going to get harder and harder because this game, had it gone into Game Pass 6 months ago, might have still had a chance if you gave them everybody crossplay. Again, there's going to be an influx of players here. Don't get me wrong, myself included, right? I will try anything that drops into Game Pass. So this game is going to get downloaded. This game I am going to play. If Mav, 3-bit, everybody who has played this game wants to jump in with me and run through the missions with me and that kind of stuff, this game's going to get played on my Xbox. So, but this game had a chance, had they had that player base to maintain it. Unfortunately, they've lost a lot of it. I know, obviously, Black Panther gave it some life again, but then everybody gets through the Black Panther campaign if they're able to. I listened to 3-bit have problems the other night because there's still some bugs there that prevent people from completing the missions. Then, you could have had a shot at having a live service game work. They needed to make some big changes with the loot system. They never did that. So a lot of that stuff is unfixable at this point. But glad it's coming to Game Pass. Glad everybody's going to have a chance to play this that held off on it or heard all the negativity around it. Everybody can jump in. I'm sure there'll be some people that find out that they love it. They're going to get some DLC sales out of it for that $20 cosmetic pack that is sitting out there. So they are going to see a boost here, and I think that's fantastic because I never want to see a game fail. That's not what I'm about. I'm about people finding games that they love and games, finding a home in people's hearts. That's what this industry is all about. So this is fantastic. Awesome news. Can't wait to try it out now that it's dropping here. Now, as far as the speculation goes, Mav is onto something. I think that the Crystal Dynamics play, if we're taking this tour through our wonderful town, co-mayors, that I think they are onto something. I think that Square Enix right now, their Western divisions, Eidos, Montreal, Crystal Dynamics, they have underperformed Square Enix's expectations. Now, we can discuss whether or not Square's expectations were too high, whatever the case may be, but I don't think they know what to do with their Western divisions. Their Eastern divisions, obviously, Final Fantasy, all that, like Mav said, I don't think this is a Square Enix play. I've never thought that would happen. However, if Square Enix is in this spot where they don't know what to do with these Western developers, and they really aren't seeing the returns, and we know that they lost a ton of money on Avengers. I'm sure that's why they're taking this bag from Phil and the team over at Xbox to hire out Crystal Dynamics, obviously to take on Perfect Dark. I think that we could see down the road a deal that happens where Crystal Dynamics, Eidos, Montreal, they all join the Xbox family. And it would be even better if that comes along with the Tomb Raider IP. Because
now let me just add to that, if you don't mind. That makes perfect sense, because if what you're saying comes to fruition, who will the Japanese division want to take on Lara Croft? The answer is no, they would not, because their bread and butter is the Japanese audience, and of course the JRPGs that Square is famous for and continues to dole out.
And one thing, guys, real quick, we know that money changed hands.
Oh yeah,
because Crystal Dynamics is working on an Xbox first party IP.
Correct. That's what I said. Yeah, they took the bag to get them to work with them. Yes.
So what all does that deal involve? And that's what we don't know.
It's very interesting. Yeah.
And is this a test run with Perfect Dark? Because obviously, Xbox hired Daryl Gallagher to run the initiative. He's vouching for his team over at Crystal Dynamics, right? Now they get to see hands-on how that fits in with the whole Xbox, that their vision, right? How they work within. And obviously Xbox has some history with Crystal Dynamics already, but again, it's been a while since Tomb Raider came out and it was an Xbox exclusive. But now they get to see if they fit into the environment well, right? With Daryl Gallagher, once again leading them. Do they come out with their top tier, their top quality that we come to expect out of a Tomb Raider? But straight from Square Enix's mouth, we know that Tomb Raider, the IP itself, is not doing anything for them. They did not get the results that they thought they were going to get when they went ahead and got Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal, right? They did not get those financial results. And Square Enix is not one of those companies. They're making very good money. They're in a strong position, but they also are going to trim fat at times if they don't think that they're getting the results that they're putting the money into. So therefore, the IP, like Boom just said, would be worthless to them, because do they want to keep the Tomb Raider IP? Nah, it's underperformed. Why we want to keep that around? So this could be the deal in the works, that they go ahead, they get Joanna Dark and Perfect Dark rebooted. Then you go ahead after that, and you go ahead either, during the process or whatever this deal, again, deals are deals. We never know how long it's going to take or what the time frame is going to look like. But let's say at the end of the Perfect Dark deal, everything goes smoothly, right? This team comes in, runs like it never left Daryl Gallagher. Daryl's just running the ship, smooth sailing. Now you go ahead and transition. You go ahead, you make that deal. You acquire these teams from Square Enix. You acquire the Tomb Raider IP. Now you have a rebooted Perfect Dark, Joanna Dark. You now have an already established one of the biggest IPs in gaming history in Tomb Raider, and one of the most iconic characters in Lara Croft. Now you got two strong female protagonists, right, to head up. You want to go ahead and lead the charge into the future, because now you've got two successful IPs underneath one wing. And now you go ahead and you just merge that team underneath the initiative. Now all of a sudden the initiative is at a full squad, right? Because this is what we talked about. This is what the initiative talked about when they said that they were going to remain agile. You want to know why they had to remain agile? Because you can't just go out and find 200 AAA devs with an Indeed, an Indeed job posting. You can't do that nowadays in the game industry. That's not how this works. Okay.
Right.
So you just bring these people on in. Now you have a fully staffed initiative with people that Daryl Gallagher absolutely loves to obviously work with. They all love him for the most part. I'm sure there's people who don't, but whatever, that's part of the work. But I'm saying that you have this team that has worked together. Now you have gone from trying to build a studio from scratch, which we know is very hard to do, to all of a sudden getting that fully staffed studio that, just years ago wasn't going to form itself in a matter of weeks or months or whatever the case may be. Now you just all of a sudden have all of that underneath one roof. You got a fully functioning AAA studio with two gigantic IPs. As long as they hit with Perfect Dark, we know they got to hit, but you got two gigantic IPs already underneath that studio to work with in the future. It's a great move, and I love it.
Zemi, before I get to you, brother, because I'm interested to get your point on what we've been talking about. I pulled an article while Pong was talking from 8/18/2014. And this was an interview with VentureBeat that Phil Spencer had. And this is what Phil had to say. Now again, speculation, breadcrumbs, but maybe, just maybe, there's something here. This is what Phil had to say. Do I wish we owned an IP first-party action-adventure game? Absolutely, but I don't right now. This one fits well. And this, of course, he's referring to the Tomb Raider deal that they locked down for an entire year. And he says this: I'm a big fan of Uncharted, and I wish we had an action-adventure game of that ilk. We've started some, we've looked at them, but we don't have one today of that quality. This partnership with publisher Square Enix is an opportunity. He continues, I know a lot of people won't like this, but I'll say it. I think it can be good for the franchise and good for gaming all around, because it is a franchise that meant something to a lot of people. Now, this was from 2014. Fast forward 7 years later to 2021, and here's the conversation that we are currently having about the potential of the Western division of Square Enix being sold off because it has underperformed. We talked about it in the green room. I'll say it live on the air right now. If you didn't know, Marvel's Avengers for Square Enix took a $65+ million bath on that game. That's a loss. And we have heard from different people, rumors, speculation that Square proper has not been happy with the output and the outcome of a lot of the stuff that they're doing. Microsoft does have a relationship with Square. They do have one with Crystal Dynamics. This deal of having Crystal Dynamics jump in and actually help work and finish Perfect Dark, when I first heard it, of course I was excited because I'm a diehard Tomb Raider fan, and no Tomb Raider is better, at least in my opinion, than Rise of the Tomb Raider, one of my favorite games from last generation. I think it's a modern day masterpiece in every slice of the word. But I just can't believe that Square would allow a studio of that size and that ilk, hey, just go to Xbox. I think both Pong and Mav are onto something. I think it's a little bit more than that. And I would even dare say that maybe a deal is currently being finalized and they're just being announced to work on it as a, hey, we're just helping out. I think there's more here, but I'm interested to get Zemi Games' opinion on this.
Yeah, well, so this topic is kind of like in two parts. I feel like
Yes,
the first
of course.
topic being the Avengers and the Game Pass, which super excited about. Here recently, it's actually been on sale for I think $20, and
$20,
I've hovered
yes.
over it, and I've hovered over it. And I've almost purchased it so many different times. It's like $20 for like the base game, but I just stopped, and you know, I guess it was meant to be because it's coming to Game Pass. So I'm really excited to finally be able to jump in there and play that game. So that's awesome. As far as the whole speculation town kind of thing, I think that there's so many puzzle pieces that really just kind of, you know, hit that it is definitely, I think it's very much likely that Xbox could possibly be acquiring some portion of Square Enix for sure. I mean, just the way that, you know, you and Mav and Pong have all kind of like laid out the framework. I think it's definitely possible. I think it's equal. I think it's also, you know, possible that it, you know, isn't going to happen as well, which is where my pessimist, you know, plaza comes in. But for speculation town's sake, I think it is possible. And I think it would be very beneficial to Xbox, especially if they can get the IP. You know, you mentioned Tomb Raider, and you also, well, Pong mentioned Tomb Raider, and then you mentioned Uncharted. Boom. I think that that's an excellent thing, right? You know, PlayStation, they have Uncharted. Uncharted's one of my favorite IPs over on PlayStation, and for Xbox to be able to get, you know, Tomb Raider, I think would be a great way for them to compete against Uncharted. And Xbox really doesn't have anything like that. The only thing I think that even remotely comes close is possibly the Indiana Jones game that is currently being developed, that we don't even know if it's going to be third party or first party, or really we don't know almost anything about that game. Right. So I think getting Tomb Raider would be huge. But another IP that we were talking about before jumping into the show that really has me excited, that a lot of people kind of have forgotten about, including Square Enix, is Sleeping Dogs.
Yes, great franchise, dude.
Absolutely love Sleeping Dogs, and after it came out, Square Enix kind of did the stereotypical Square Enix thing. Basically, they said that it underperformed, and you know, it didn't meet their expectations. And so, you know, because of that, and you know, there's more history to go along with Sleeping Dogs. I did a video about it not too long ago. They've tried to put out a sequel. It got canceled, and so on and so forth. Like that IP, you know, hasn't really done very well for Square Enix, it looks like. So that's another thing that I would really potentially love to see Microsoft pick up if they did acquire the Western half of Square Enix, is to get Sleeping Dogs, because, you know, Sleeping Dogs in a lot of ways is kind of like a Chinese Grand Theft Auto, right?
Correct.
In a lot of ways. And so for Xbox to have their own kind of version of like a GTA like game, I think would be really, really powerful for Xbox Game Pass. I think it's definitely possible that this could be, you know, these events that we're seeing could be the precursor to an acquisition. And, you know, I think that that's exciting. I'm all for it. I really, really enjoy Square Enix's Western projects. You know, I'm not the biggest Final Fantasy guy, but I do really like Tomb Raider, and I absolutely love Sleeping Dogs. And yeah, I'm all in for sure. And I think it could happen.
Yeah, I mean, look.
Don't forget too.
Yes.
We could potentially see Deus Ex.
Yes.
IP
There
come
could be
over
quite.
as well.
They have quite
That
the
is
number.
a haul if they can pull this off. That is a haul.
Another thing I was also thinking about. I'm sorry for jumping back in.
Yeah,
is I find, you know, Crystal Dynamics is a very large studio, and I would imagine there's a lot more that they could be working on right now, other than whatever Xbox is paying them to, quote unquote, paying them to work on. I don't imagine Xbox would be willing to pay the Crystal Dynamic price just to have them work on a game.
That
which
is a fantastic point, dude.
Yeah, which you know, which I think leads more into the direction that something else is happening.
Yeah. Look, I mean, everyone has made great points. Obviously, the show that I wrote did not have this. This was an audible that was called at the last minute. I think it's been a fantastic and very, very detailed conversation. I think that when you talk about Square Enix and you talk about you know, Western RPGs versus JRPGs, I said it privately. My mind cannot wrap around them actually purchasing Square proper. I just think they're too big. That's just my personal opinion. I think that if they were for sale, you would potentially get a Sony attempt to get that studio, but it's the other half of it that I think is worthy of a conversation. And we had that conversation. I think everyone has really knocked it out of the park on exactly, could this happen? Because again, you just have to look at what they're doing with this team. Now, we do have it on good authority. And I believe it was, I don't know who it was that actually talked about this on Breakfast with Boone, but apparently Crystal Dynamics had pitched 3 new IPs, 3 different IPs to Square proper, which they said no to. All 3. Now, what's interesting is that, like Zemi just brought up, it's hard to imagine that Square proper would just completely take the bag of money and he said it, and he's right. If anyone has the exact amount of what Crystal Dynamics has, I think it's 200 plus developers. That is a lot of developers to be working on an IP that A, isn't yours, and B, is going to be exclusive to Xbox. There has to be something more here, because again, maybe the deal is being finalized. We know that that Microsoft, and this came directly from Satya Nadella themselves, he said it right after the Bethesda deal. It's more lucrative for us to buy a studio than try to make one from scratch. And Crystal Dynamics is in a position where Square wasn't happy with their last game. The game limped out of the gate, and it's still limping. And now it's in Game Pass. Now, again, Game Pass has potentially 25 plus million, maybe even 30 million subscribers. So this is going to get a huge boost in people playing the game. Anyone want to add anything before we move on to the second topic? But go crazy.
Who wants to go first?
Matt, you want to go? Quick, Zemi. Yeah,
go for it.
Real quick. All you got to do is look at this. Okay? There's this one fact that tells the whole story.
Yes, let's talk about it.
Right now, it makes more business sense for Square Enix to allow their developer to make a game for Xbox than it does for Square Enix to have their developer make a game for them. Yep. If that is the value that they see in Crystal Dynamics right now, is that's not looking good for the future of that studio with that publisher.
Yes, that's a
Especially
fantastic point again.
especially if they are pitching ideas like you alluded to, Boom, and getting shut down at the potential. That means maybe Square Enix is looking to potentially move on from the development of those type of games because they are looking at going in a different direction.
Yes.
And either there's something more to this, or something in the future is going to happen with either Xbox or somebody else, because they are just renting out their studios at this point, right? And if you look even further, like last year, this was like one of those, "Hey, dude, bro, trust me" rumors, right? Ubisoft, that there was a rumor going around that because of the failure of some of the Western IPs, that Ubisoft, Square was looking to sell their Western division to Ubisoft. That was a rumor that had made the rounds last year, and I was like, kind of like, what? Like, okay, that's just like that doesn't seem right. Now, what if they were shopping it around at that point still, and it's just taking this long for things to happen? You know what I mean? Like, these deals do not come about quickly.
Right.
If this is something that's been happening, it's been happening for a while now, but we know that money had to have changed hands because Crystal Dynamics was announced. Now, usually when these support studio things happen,
They go unannounced.
they go unannounced.
Yes.
They made a point to promote Crystal Dynamics, whether it was a big announcement or not. The initiative made a post, and then Crystal Dynamics made a post. They made a point to promote that Crystal Dynamics was working on this game. And we all thought it was strange. I was excited about that. However, I did acknowledge and think that it was a strange announcement randomly at night to just happen like that. Then a week later, you add in the fact that Avengers is coming to Game Pass, which, even though, okay, so Sony exclusivity deals up, all that stuff, there's still another exchange of money here, right? Avengers coming into Game Pass is another puzzle piece. Okay.
Yep.
There has to be money that was exchanged. Now, negotiations and all these things take place. The question is, how big is this partnership? How big is this deal? Is it actually go as deep as an acquisition, or is it more of a partnership thing? That's what I'm curious about, because it's at least a partnership. We already know that because Crystal Dynamics is making an Xbox game right now.
Yeah.
So it goes at least to that level. I think it's more, and we're gonna find that out.
Now, Pong, before I let you and Zemi go, I want to just throw it out there. These are direct tweets from both Crystal Dynamics and the Initiative. Now, when it dropped this news, it was the Initiative first, and they said this: Perfect Dark update. We are partnering with Crystal Dynamics, the world-class team behind character-driven games such as Tomb Raider, to bring this first-person spy thriller to a new generation. Now, Crystal Dynamics immediately quoted that, and this is their two tweets following that announcement. We couldn't be more excited to join forces with the Initiative to bring Perfect Dark to a new generation of gamers. We thrive on reimagining epic heroes and can't wait to realize this first-person spy thriller together. We're thrilled to add Perfect Dark to our development efforts alongside Marvel's Avengers and Tomb Raider. Now, again, nothing really there that screams acquisition, but it's still very, very questionable when, and I believe it was Mav that said it, they take an entire team, or it might have been Zemi, takes an entire team that could in fact be making a game for Square Enix and allows that 200 plus team to go over to Microsoft and work on an exclusive. I honestly think that there's something there. But Pong, what do you want to add to this?
Zemi, do you want to go first? Because you jumped in first.
Yeah. I'll
okay.
I
Sorry about that, Zemi. Yeah, you go ahead.
No,
You're
good. You're good. The other thing I was going to say is, from hearing Pong and all of you guys also talking, it sounds like the Western half of Square Enix is underperforming, having quote unquote financial issues somehow for Square Enix. That is Microsoft's. Like, they love that, right? Think Bethesda, ZeniMax, financial problems, right? Think Obsidian, financial problems, right? They love getting the companies that are having financial problems, right? Just to add in, as well to the point of, how this could possibly be Microsoft acquiring the Western half, because if the Western half is having issues, that just kind of falls into Microsoft's MO for acquisition. They love finding the companies that are having financial issues to jump in.
I mean, you're absolutely onto something with that. That makes perfect sense. And then obviously there are a couple of more points we can add to the conversation before I get Pong back in here. Financial issues, right? They want, Mav brought up the last year there was talk of Ubisoft potentially buying the Western division, right? That he didn't pull that out of his hat. That was a rumor. We know that obviously Marvel Avengers underperformed. We have it on good authority that they pitched Square Enix 3 new IPs. They said no to every one of them. That is, that's questionable. We see this partnership with them coming over to work on Perfect Dark. All of a sudden now, the Marvel Avengers is in there. Listen, again, I'm not a coincidence kind of a dude, especially in business, but Pong, please add your flavor to this.
Yeah. So little thing underneath the radar. Again, let's talk about Crystal Dynamics. Eidos Montreal is again, if they're going to sell the Western division, that would be a part of it.
Yes.
But let's just say Crystal Dynamics is the one that's on the table, right? Let's just say that's been from the get-go. Let's look at this through the lens of being in speculation town. This could go back, because I believe that obviously this was not just a random decision that came out of the blue when the initiative formed. I believe that Daryl Gallagher probably had talked to Phil when they first started going through the process of how they were going to reboot Perfect Dark and how they were going to form the studio. They obviously, both of them, these people have been in the industry for decades upon decades. They understand the current situation of the industry and how hard it is to find talent. So I got to believe this was the plan all along, that Daryl went to Phil and said, look, we're going to form the studio. We'll get a band of some of the best from around the industry. We're going to pull whoever we can, but we're probably going to have a cap at how many people we can pull. If you want Perfect Dark to be within this generation, we're going to have to go find third-party support. We're going to have to go find a studio that is capable of producing AAA games to make this project a reality, right? And I'm assuming that Daryl at that point just said, look, Phil, I need you to call my old team. I need you to call Square, find out what Crystal Dynamics roadmap looks like, where they're at, when we could get that slotted in. If that's a possibility, let's get my old team here. Let's say that Phil said, yeah, and I'll do you one better. Since we're going to have a problem trying to get the studio up to speed, because, again, you can't just go find, a couple hundred
They're not on every
developers.
corner. Yeah.
Right. They're just not hanging out waiting for the phone call, right? So it's just, we're going to have a problem. Let's go see what's going on. And Daryl Gallagher, being within Square Enix, within Crystal Dynamics, probably knew a lot of inside baseball, probably gave Phil a lot of inside baseball as to what was going on there.
Yeah.
If these 3 pitch games that have been turned down are reality, and they were just simply focused on Avengers, that phone call probably was made. Maybe Phil started those conversations at that point with Square, saying, hey, look, we know Crystal Dynamics is working on Avengers, but we want them for Perfect Dark. We know that their games underperform for you. What about, are you planning on letting them go? Is this a situation where you're not interested in keeping that team around anymore? Because we would have interest in acquiring that team if that's the case. Maybe that all falls in line with having to wait for Avengers to get done, Avengers to get pushed out, right? Square sees the sales numbers. They took they took a bath on this one. Less interest in keeping Crystal Dynamics. Maybe that's why this announcement, because I'm sure the initiative, and I'm sure, I'm almost 100% positive. Again, we never will know, but I'm almost 100% positive this was the plan from the beginning. That's why this announcement was not made as a partnership, because they didn't want to start those talks, right? They didn't want to start that rumor mill as to why this was happening. They couldn't come out and form the initiative, say, hey, we're working on Perfect Dark. And oh, by the way, we're partnering with Crystal Dynamics. And everybody's like, what?
Yes.
What is this?
Yeah.
So you wait till this moment. Avengers is done. The year exclusivity deal with Avengers is over with. Now you can go ahead and announce that you've got this partnership with Crystal Dynamics. Meanwhile, everything's being firmed up in the back end for a possible acquisition overall. So you just keep this announcement as a partnership, a very strong partnership, like we just talked about. These kind of deals just don't get announced, right? This is not like, again, Naughty Dog didn't come out and say, hey, we partnered with 14 studios. We got 2,000 people working on The Last of Us 2. No. That's the back end stuff that we never hear about. We see it in the credits. We never hear about that kind of stuff. So now they announce it. Meanwhile, and why I say this, if Crystal Dynamics is in this position within Square Enix, that they are getting pushback on any kind of projects that they put forward, that they're kind of in limbo right now.
Right. There's no faith from Square Enix proper.
Right. Why on May 26, 2021, the Crystal Dynamics announced that they're opening a new studio based in Austin, Texas? Why would you be opening a new studio if you are in limbo?
Yes.
Let's go through Speculation Town. Why would you do that? It's called Crystal Southwest. Why would that happen? Why are you expanding if none of your projects are being approved by your parent company?
Yes.
Why are you doing that? Maybe because you know you're not going to be under Square Enix anymore. Maybe because you know there's something coming down the road, right? Maybe because you already kind of have that working relationship. We're partnering up with Xbox. Okay, let's we know we're probably going to be underneath that umbrella at some point. Let's open up a new studio and get ready to rock and roll when we get underneath that new umbrella. Just a tidbit out there. Again, it doesn't make sense. If you're in this limbo situation, if you know that you're not getting the support from your parent company, why do you announce a new studio opening up May 26, 2021 in that kind of situation? It's because you know that eventually you are going to have the resources and the support that is going to be required for that studio. It would make no sense for Square Enix to support another studio underneath Crystal Dynamics if they're not going to use them properly. They're just going to outsource them as third party. That's not going to hold water. You could do that with the studios that you're already there, with the main studio from Crystal Dynamics. There's no reason to open up another studio. Just a little speculation to throw out there.
And again, that's a fantastic point. I mean, listen, obviously, why open up a new studio if you're not going to take advantage of the talent that's at said studio? It just literally doesn't make any sense. And again, Microsoft is in a position where we have heard that they are. I mean, obviously, they've called it it's the year of acquisitions, right? Like that is a term that has been used. And we've heard numerous things. This sounds like there is definitely something there. And I'm going to say this right now: as great as the studio is, and they're pretty damn good. I'm hoping that, again, if you don't have a Crystal Dynamics, whether you don't have anyone to do Tomb Raider, I would imagine that Phil, just based on that comment that he said all those years ago, think about this for a second, folks. Tomb Raider, Lara Croft, and that world is an iconic character on the lines of a Nathan Drake. Nathan Drake found his birthright probably through someone who played Tomb Raider as a kid and wanted to create and eventually came up with Nathan Drake and that entire world that he goes around in. Back in 2014, Phil said it, we don't have anyone like that. They currently still don't have anyone like that. And again, am I saying that this is a deal that started percolating in 2014? No. But there is. I think it's safe to say that there is something to be said about opportunities. And the one thing that Microsoft does not, doesn't take it, take for granted is opportunities. And this could potentially be one of those golden plate opportunities that, hey, listen, Square Enix proper not happy with Crystal Dynamics, and they're looking to get rid of them. And here's Phil, like, well, we just got word from. They're going to be working with us. Listen, for all we know, and we've heard this before, maybe Phil got a chance to take a look at the projects that were turned down. Maybe they had a business meeting and say, hey, listen, this is what we're looking to do. and right now we're potentially on the chop block for a sale. And besides Tomb Raider, Phil says, "Holy crap! I like these projects. These are the potential single player, over the shoulder, story driven content that everyone yells at Sony for having. We don't have that." And now that they could potentially have that. Again, a lot of the studios that they purchased had been working on things that Phil went over and saw and was like, okay, yeah, we like this, and we're going to purchase you. That we know that for an absolute fact. Again, this is complete speculation. We don't know, but I do want to say we are going to move on to one of the bigger topics. I want to thank.
One more thing, Boom.
Yeah,
real
sure. Come
quick.
on, absolutely.
If Xbox got Tomb Raider IP and they have the Indiana Jones game coming, then they would pretty much have Nathan Drake's mom and dad.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, that's something to be said, because, look, I know we don't have a lot of information on Indiana Jones. Okay, I know there are a lot of people that are still banking. Hey, Boom, you don't know this is going to be multiplat. I'm here to tell you that that's not going to happen. If I have learned anything from Phil, he may be a nice guy on the outside, but he doesn't like getting hit in the face. And that announcement of Knights of the Old Republic being exclusive was, I think, a kick to the crotch. And if it's just about, I'll put it to this way. Microsoft financially is in a position, if all that matters to, redoing a contract for Indiana Jones to be exclusive to Xbox and PC is money, I think Microsoft is going to do that. Because what would be the purpose of having Indiana Jones come to PlayStation? What, for some knucklehead fanboys to say, I'm doing a blockade of this, don't buy this because this is being published under Microsoft? We've seen stupid stuff like that. Why even bother with that? If it's money, if money is the only thing separating you from locking a specific new IP in the Indiana Jones, which is a classic IP behind the Xbox brand, then just pay whatever it is to change that contract and get it done. But here's the thing that's interesting. Out of all the conversations since the announcement of Indiana Jones, there were no consoles announced. Didn't say coming to PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series, X amount of years. There was no platforms announced. So I can actually see that remaining an exclusive because they own Machine Games. Now, the deals that happened with Ghostwire Tokyo and the other game that just released, well, those contracts those games were announced to be multi-plat. So again, it would have cost a pretty penny to change that. And Phil said we are going to honor those deals. Again, folks, this has been a great 1 hour of the show. Over 300 people here. Hopefully we got a bunch of new people that are joining the conversation today. If you are someone that has not already subscribed to Double Barrel Gaming, check it out. 4 live shows weekly, 2 Xbox Factors on Tuesdays and Thursdays, of primetime gaming on Monday evenings, and Friday morning breakfast at Boom. And it's all positive content. We don't sit here and bash each other. We don't talk about for clicks and likes and stuff like that. If you want positive talk and you want talk that brings the receipts, definitely consider subscribing. I do have to catch up on some of the super chats that have come in. There's been quite a few of them. The first one of today comes to us from Drawn TJ, generous friend of the show. He drops a $5 super chat and says, "Morning, guys. This is going to be an explosive show. And so far, I hope that we have met your expectations. Thank you for, of course, dropping the very generous $5 super chat." We have Gerald Mack drops a $5 super chat, and shout out to the Xbox Factor podcast, Mr. Boomstick, and the esteemed panel. Salute indeed, brother. Salute to you as well. Gamer by Choice drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "It's a blessing and a curse of Game Pass. I bought Avengers, and if I have waited, I could have gotten it in Game Pass. Damn it. LOL, great show." Yeah, I bought it too. I bought the collector's edition, so I'm the bigger fool. No doubt about that. Gerald Mack drops an additional $2 super chat and says, "Mr. Boomstick XL, Xbox has the power." Indeed, it does. I absolutely agree with you on that. They do. They're sitting in a position of power from a multitude of levels, financially being one of the most important, because at a drop of a hat, if something makes sense, they're going to spend the dollars. There's no doubt about that. And we've seen that come to fruition. They have 23 studios, so I expect that to continue. We also have Gamers Play HUD Zero drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "This is more than a coincidence that CD Crystal Dynamics is helping the initiative. I feel Square Enix may be in the mix for an acquisition by Microsoft Avengers on Game Pass." Yeah, I mean, again, it's just too coincidental. Rocker Corey, friend of the show, he drops a $2 super chat and says, "Love the facts and insight from my man Pong Soul." There you go, Pong, a fan of yours. And King One Supreme drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "Crystal Dynamics could be that studio which makes third-person games for Xbox." Shouts to Lord Cog. Hashtag just one. Indeed. And a shout out to, I already messaged them privately, but I'll say it publicly. Big shout out to the Iron Lords podcast, who during Sunday's show crossed 10,000 subscribers. That is absolutely amazing. And I am so blessed and honored to have been a part of that journey. I remember when I was doing my, when I first started YouTube, I try to help everybody. That's why I invite new people to the to the panels, because I want to introduce new voices. When I see newer people like Pong and Mav that have channels that need exposure, I will go out of my way to make sure that they do get exposed properly. I think that is the neighborly thing to do. I know not everyone holds my opinion. I'm not trying to beat out anybody on YouTube. I'm just trying to kind of do my thing. And if I can help someone to do what I do, then we are all better for it. Smitty Smith, generous friend of the show, he drops a $5 super chat and says, "Salutations, everyone. The panel has to get napkins because y'all just spitting facts. The Book of X." Indeed, brother. Well, thank you so much for that. And you know what? I want to talk about, I want to get to the next topic. And obviously, we are an hour and 3 minutes into today's show. And obviously, you saw the thumbnail. Last week, we had a Nintendo Direct. Now, you say to yourself, well, wait a second. What are we talking Nintendo? Bear with me for a second. I have been on the Banjo Kazooie kick for what seems like years. If you look at Microsoft, at some of the holes that they currently have in their repertoire of Game Pass or platform, platformers, kid-friendly platformers is one of them. And I know that some people are going to, well, just a second, Psychonauts 2. Yes, Psychonauts, yes. I'm not debating that that's not a good platform. In fact, it's a great platform that may, in fact, win Game of the Year. But is it kid-friendly like a Mario game? The answer is no. There's a lot of adult content in there that will go over a kid's head. I'm not saying that kids shouldn't play it. I'm just saying that it has some adult themes in there. And that's not the kind of platformer that I personally want. I enjoy the game. I think it is a fantastic piece of artwork that Tim and that team put together. But Banjo Kazooie and Conker are like the Marios, if you will. And we got word, and I thought this was again, it's speculation town, so go crazy with it or not, that Nintendo announced an addition to their $20 a year online or so-called online service. And in that current online service, you get a bunch of NES and Super NES games. Well, they're adding a second tier to it that's going to include N64 games and, of course, a huge catalog of Sega Genesis stuff, which is awesome. But here is where I start to get into a little bit of speculation town. It was announced, and it was very subtle. It wasn't upfront personal. You had to watch the whole commercial to get it. Banjo and Kazooie from the N64 is coming to the Nintendo Switch this fall in its original format. And obviously, it saw life when Rare worked with Nintendo, and before Microsoft had purchased them, Banjo-Kazooie was a Nintendo IP. Now, this is interesting because I have asked a question to many, many podcasters, and I will reiterate that question to everyone that's on this panel today. At this point, we have it on confirmed authority that Rare does not, and I repeat, does not want to go back to any of their older IPs. They want to continue supporting Sea of Thieves, and they want to continue to work on the new IP which obviously is Everwild, which was, we had no idea what it was, and then it was rebooted because they didn't know what it was. So I don't know when we're ever going to see Everwild, but they do not want to revisit their old IPs. I think it's a mistake, but at this point, gentlemen, as great as Nintendo continues to be with their platformers, all you have to do is look at Mario Odyssey. It is by far one of the most perfect games ever released when talking about platformers. I believe that it not only deserves the Game of the Year nod that it got, it deserves the tens, and it received plenty of them. My question is simple, and I'll start first with Pong on this, and then we'll go down backwards. Pong, at this point, should Microsoft simply team up with Nintendo and just allow them to make the Banjo Kazooie IP, and then each one of them publish it on each platform respectively?
Boom, we're gonna stay in speculation town. We actually had this discussion, Boom. I don't know if you remember, about 6 months ago or so.
Yes.
When we were in speculation town, wondering, about Game Pass coming to Nintendo and what kind of deals could be worked out between the two companies, and we had this specific discussion about Banjo Kazooie and Viva Pinata and all these games sitting out there, all these IPs sitting out there, not doing anything. And why not go have somebody like Nintendo partner with them, co-publish, co-develop, whatever it is, and come back with these IPs that a lot of people are clamoring for and would fill a void that Phil has actually talked about, as far as getting more family-friendly games into Game Pass and onto the Xbox ecosystem. And I say, why not? I mean, again, if that's something that can be done, and again, we are in speculation town, folks, because Nintendo has, I don't know how much interest Nintendo would have in doing this. I don't know what it would do for them. Obviously it would give them a game. Obviously it would have to be financial gain on both sides, but I think, why not? I think it would be a match made in heaven if Nintendo had the studio or the manpower to go ahead and get something like this done, and were willing to do the co-publishing, the co-developing, whatever the deal would look like. Yes, of course. I think it would work out fantastic for both parties. I think Nintendo could get some classic IPs that were well known on Nintendo back into the house, just like we saw with this latest announcement with the old Banjo and Kazooie coming. And I think that it would give both parties involved a boost, because I think that there are two separate groups of fans, because you do have your diehard fans on Nintendo, and then obviously your diehard fans on Xbox, that would both look forward to this agreement, this partnership. It would be an amazing thing. Phil has talked about this extensively, right? I think Phil, if the old kumbaya Phil talk is real, that in a perfect world, Phil would work with everybody, including Sony, on projects, because he believes that the gaming community is one, right? And he believes in that history of the industry being preserved. And what better way to do that than to partner with your competitors, and bring back classic IP and make sure that IP is preserved for future generations. And I think that this deal with Banjo Kazooie, the old one, coming to Nintendo again, is part of that. And I think that wouldn't happen in certain circles. I think there are certain companies, Sony, that would never allow that to happen, right? And that would never make that type of an agreement, because it would, to them, it's too much of a value proposition, and they would lose that by not having that, withholding that IP. Whereas Phil is more open to it. Phil is like, hey, you know what? There are some deals that should be made. There are some things that should happen just in the name of gaming. And I think that would come down to something like this happening. So I think that, if those talks can happen, Nintendo and Xbox have been very friendly with each other through the recent years. I think that there has been, obviously, probably some really open dialogue between the two companies, about what they could do going into the future. Again, we talked about this 6-7 months ago with the speculation about Game Pass coming to Switch. I don't think Nintendo's ready to do that. The same obviously with Sony, they're not ready. But I think that eventually all of this dialogue, all this goodwill that's being formed, and I know people have a problem, and I understand, that it seems like Xbox is always giving Nintendo something, but Nintendo's not really giving anything in return. Well, you know what? Maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe there is more bigger talks behind the scenes. And one of the, if it's not Game Pass on Switch right away, then why not a deal to get some of these old IPs back up and running? Banjo Kazooie being a main one, a mainstay, especially since Rare has no interest in working on it. Why not? Why not make that happen? I'm all about it. I think it'd be fantastic. I think it would work out for both companies. It makes sense in a lot of ways to do this. So why not? I'm all for it. Let's do it.
I'll say this to your point. Now I'll bring Zemi in on the conversation. Does anyone watch reaction videos on announcement videos and how it's received by the community? Does anybody watch those? Because I do.
Every now and then.
Yeah, I mean, listen. I mean, they're wonderful when they're done for the love of the game. They are wonderful to watch. But the biggest ones have always been the Smash Brother announcements. This is pre-COVID, obviously, where you would have 20, 30, 40 people in a room, and you would get an announcement that would make dudes cry, because their favorite character is in a game, and none is bigger, or none that I've ever watched has been bigger than the announcement of Banjo Kazooie in Switch, coming to Switch in the form of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. It was absolutely astounding to watch. I've watched tons and tons of those videos because, quite frankly, they're heartwarming, especially when they're done from the perspective of a fan. Now, I can't say for certain that that a deal was struck many years ago when Banjo Kazooie came to the Smash Brothers Ultimate. The last fighter is being announced on October 5th, and I honestly think that's going to be Master Chief. I honestly think Chief is coming to Switch. I think he's going to come to Smash Brothers, and I mean it's not going to be. I had this conversation with my nephew Tyler. I said, please, whatever you do, don't make it another goddamn Fire Emblem character, because Jesus, they have just so many of them. We don't need it. But Master Chief would be epic, and I still think that's going to happen. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to bet the house on it, but that would be epic. I think that Nintendo is in a position where a lot of people still look at Banjo Kazooie as a Nintendo IP. So you could technically kill two birds with one stone. And if it could be done by the same team that brought us a Mario Odyssey, with some help from Microsoft, because I know some people in there laughing, saying, "Oh yeah, well if Nintendo does it as 30 frames," and I get that. All right, the Switch isn't the most powerful console, but I think that they could get some help from Microsoft. This could be a dual-produced game. Where do you fall in this, Emmy? I know we've talked about this before, but I just thought that the conversation needed to be brought up again, simply because Banjo Kazooie N64 version is launching this year onto their Xbox Live-esque service. I just think that there's something here.
Yeah. I'm less confident in this speculation than I was the last one, right? I get what you're saying. And for me personally, as a gamer and as, honestly, primarily an Xbox fan, I mean, I love Nintendo, I love PlayStation as well, but my main home is Xbox. I would be perfectly okay if they, through the IP to Nintendo, had them make the game or co-made the game with them and had it published on Nintendo as well as thrown into Game Pass. I would be perfectly happy with that, right? I was also the same person that said, "Hey, you should probably put Elder Scrolls games on PlayStation." I mean, so I'm all messed up whenever it comes to that stuff. But I think it'd be perfectly, okay and fine. With that being said, do I think it's happening? I have no idea, right? I mean, as far as I know, Microsoft already figured out a publisher and has or already figured out another studio and has a second party studio making the next Banjo Kazooie game, right? For all I know, right?
Right.
They could already have plans for that IP. They could already be working on a new game. I think they will eventually make another game, another Banjo Kazooie. I think it's just a matter of time until we see it. If they ended up partnering with Nintendo, I think that would be exciting. I love Nintendo. I think they make fantastic games. Maybe not from, graphically speaking, but that's kind of where Xbox coming in to co-develop kind of what you were talking about would potentially come in. I would be absolutely okay with it. I don't have any problem. I think it makes sense. But at the same time, there's also power and them not doing it and just having a second party studio make the game for them because they don't have enough child friendly content on the Xbox platform. And if you throw that child friendly content to Nintendo, then what's the real draw to have, the younger demographics get an Xbox? You know what I mean? So, I'm kind of torn on it. Ultimately, it doesn't really matter to me. I just, I think it'd be great if they just made another Banjo Kazooie game,
I would love a new platformer. There are certain listen, the same way you can turn around and say, well, Sony, they have great third person over the shoulder story driven games, but they're absolutely terrible at multiplayer games, right? And they're working on that, right? As a matter of fact, we're going to be talking on Friday morning's Breakfast with Boom. There's a new report or rumor, if you will, that besides Spider-Man and Miles Morales, besides Wolverine, Sony and Marvel are working together to bring the PlayStation 5 a multiplayer Marvel game. And that was reported earlier this week. I saved that story specifically for Friday's Breakfast with Boom because obviously we're going to have Big Cloud on there, and I want to get his PlayStation perspective. I think that would be unbelievable. And why not keep striking at the iron while it's hot with Marvel? Because Marvel is one of the hottest IPs right now. So why not continue that? Getting back to Microsoft, they have a lot of great games. They have a lot of great genres covered, specifically in RPGs, Western RPGs, right? First person dude bro games. They have all those things, but there are still a few chinks in the armor, if you will. They don't have the kid friendly games, which they have the IP, right? I'm still pissed that we don't have a proper KI2. And I'm going to be honest with you, Phil, I love you. But the excuse is that, well, me and Matt Booty have talked about it, and we just don't have the studio to make that game. That's not an excuse. That to me tells me that you ain't working hard enough to get that IP to us. And you got to remember, this is a launch game on the Xbox One, and it did really well for them. It's Microsoft. You guys have money coming out of every offer, or everywhere you could possibly imagine. If you don't have a studio to make that, then buy one. And again, I'm still gonna die on this hill with the WB thing and NetherRealm. I still think that they're eventually going to come to Xbox Game Studios, but we've already talked about that to death. And the other thing that they don't have is, of course, someone to make the platformers. So they are missing the third person over the shoulder game, the fighters, and the platformers. And I think that they shouldn't be missing anything. Maybe that's me being a greedy gamer. And asking for too much. I just think that they're in a position where they should have everything covered, and they certainly have the money to do so. But Matt, let's get your opinion on this, and then we're going to move on to the last topic, and that is going to be Halo Infinite's single player, and I'm going to get into that momentarily. But Matt, let's get your opinion on this. Do you think it would be a good deal for both Microsoft and Nintendo to have the next Banjo Kazooie made by them?
I mean, it would be cool, but I'll be honest with you, I would just assume that Xbox go somewhere else.
Okay.
Because Nintendo already has so many games I want them to make. And they got Mario for that 3D world platformer type game, that they can do. I would just think it would be better if maybe Nintendo took that same development team that they'd be using up on a Banjo game and maybe made a Star Fox or maybe made an
Interesting.
F-Zero or something else that's dormant that I want new games made by Nintendo for, as opposed to making a Banjo game partnered with Xbox. So would it be cool? Yeah, it would be cool, and I'd definitely be excited and play it. But I don't necessarily think that it needs to be Nintendo. I think that Xbox could go to several different studios that are out there that would be capable of doing this, including some that are maybe even they own currently, like Double Fine, right?
You know, it's
Um,
funny you say that because Tim was asked that question. Tim Schafer, head of the studio,
yeah,
and he said, "No, we're working on a new IP. We're not working on a Banjo." Because I
yeah,
said that, I was like, "Oh my God, get
I
Tim
remember
to
them
do
saying
it."
that.
Yeah.
It's just like there's lots of potential. Maybe like lots of double A type studios out there you could
Well, the
get. It
team
is.
that made Ukulele is all ex-Rare
Mhm.
developers. I said that from the beginning. They should just get them to do it.
Yeah, yeah. I think the potential's out there. It's just as a matter of making a deal happen with somebody. As far as it needing to be Nintendo, that would be cool. But Nintendo already doesn't have enough big first party games coming out to begin with their studios that I would necessarily want something developing something that's from another um platform holder. Like I would rather them do I want F-Zero, I want Star Fox,
Oh,
I want
God,
so many
F-Zero.
classic
Yes,
Nintendo games,
yes,
dude.
yes.
And they also just
Star
announced that
Fox.
That Kirby game that's kind of in that same vein
Yeah,
as
it's
well, right?
open world Kirby. Yeah, it's
So you
crazy.
got Mario potential games, you got Kirby. I don't know if Nintendo
Can you
would
say
see
Star
it as
Fox
a
again?
necessity.
Star Fox. Yes,
Star
I would
Fox.
love.
Ah,
I would love. You know what?
ah,
Listen, at this point, I am just such a Star Fox fan that I would just love them to remake the original. Just
Yeah.
remake the original
Yep.
in
yeah.
modern controls and graphics. And yeah,
Well, in order for
that's
modern graphics, they would have to have a new device.
yeah. I mean, that's
Look at his
arguable. I mean,
That
animation.
that
listen.
that's just mean. Why would you say something like
I'm
that,
sorry.
man? That's just
I'm
mean.
just saying. You know, like hey, iPhone 6 graphics are great. Let's go.
Look, I'll say this again. Maybe I shouldn't have made the thumbnail Banjo Kazooie because it probably wasn't the big topic. Again, I did call an audible early. I think that we might get more views if I would have said, "Hey, breaking news!" Speculation town. But listen, any chance as a showrunner that I get to talk about Banjo Kazooie, I'm hoping that I can will it into existence. Now, I don't know if that's ever going to happen. I think you're onto something that yes, we will eventually get a Banjo Kazooie. When is that? I don't know. Just like we will eventually get a Titanfall 3 one day. I don't know. But I do want to move on to the last topic of the show. And folks, look, this weekend was a monumentous weekend for Halo fans across the globe. What I saw on the socials was not Xbox sucks or PlayStation is better or vice versa. I talked about this explicitly last night on Primetime Gaming. What I saw was the lines in the sands were blurred. Sony fans, Nintendo fans, and Xbox fans alike who got a chance to be a part of the flighting beta part 2, all they talked about was Halo. And I said this last night and I'll say it again. If you don't think Halo is back, then I don't know what to tell you. This gave me the biggest holy shit moment. They figured out a way to replicate what Bungie did so well. They made Halo hashtag fun. So, are we going to talk about the multiplayer? If you gentlemen would like to give your opinions on it, by all means. But I want to speculate and give my opinion on based on the graphics that we saw in the multiplayer. Based on we know that Joseph Staten coming back and taking the lead in the development of this game, what do we expect from the single player? Well, I'll tell you what I expect. I expect us to be completely blown away. And I think that, in my opinion, because Microsoft is 343 is going to be hitting on both the multiplayer and the single player, this is going to be a game that is going to not only put Halo back on the face of the map, but it's going to bring it to the Game of the Year conversation along with several developed Microsoft IPs. I couldn't be happier. I cannot wait to play the multiplayer. Of course, there are only a few multiplayers that I will literally drop everything that I'm doing, even a show, and potentially stay up way past midnight to play. Titanfall is one of them. The Division is the second, but Halo is always going to be the main draw for me. I was a diehard Halo multiplayer. I did not play as much on 4, which I did not like. 5, I played for a little bit, but no, I played hundreds, if not over 1,000 plus hours with my brother Neo Mental for Halo 3, and that is the feeling that I got from both flightings, which I thought were just incredible. But we'll start with Zemi. Zemi, I don't know if we didn't get a chance to talk if you got into the flighting. If you played, you did. Okay, so you got a chance to play. Just based on what we saw, and I know that there was some fruit gates in the first flighting that you couldn't shoot an apple and everyone was like it's going to suck, which is stupid. But we did get a chance to see many people breaking down vehicles, like really going. I mean, the detail in the multiplayer was astounding, and to take that and say, well, if they can do that in multiplayer, what could they do in single player? Where are your expectations for single player? Are you even more excited now that you got a chance to see what 343 has been up to all of these years?
I enjoyed my time with the multiplayer. I had a lot of fun with it. I posted a tweet, talking about my feelings about the multiplayer, and I think it really, honest to God, is a fun game. To me, it doesn't scratch that Halo itch. To me, it seems more like Call of Duty than it does Halo. Ultimately, I really like Call of Duty too, right? But I just don't think it really, hits me as playing like a Halo first person shooter. And for that, and I don't mean that as a slight. I think that they in some ways did that very intentionally because it is a free to play game and they're trying to, I would definitely say that they're targeting the Warzone kids and the Fortnite kids and so on and so forth. So it makes sense for them to make it feel closer to a Call of Duty game. But for me, I just don't know if the multiplayer is gonna, scratch that Halo itch that I have inside me right now. But regardless of that, it is a really, really fun game. Absolutely fun to play. As far as the single player, I can't really speak too much on that. I mean, I never played it, right? I've played enough games to know that, typically the multiplayer and the single player are very, very different. As of right now, I'm trying to keep my expectations low for the single player. Graphically, I think it's going to look really, really good. As far as the actual gameplay of running around shooting things, I think that that's going to be a lot of fun as well. But as far as the story, which was the biggest issue that I had with Halo 5, I'm not sure if I'm going to 100%, enjoy that or not. And then also Halo's single player, like the campaign, is going to have open world environments, which was one thing I really did not like Gears of War incorporating was the open world environments. So, it's kind of, for me, it's a toss up on whether or not I'm going to enjoy the campaign. I do enjoy the multiplayer, but it just doesn't feel like Halo.
Oh, I mean, listen, you're absolutely entitled to your opinion. I mean, I mean, obviously, I would be on the other side of that argument.
I've made the chat so upset today.
No, I don't think you listen. You listen. If you're played Halo for many years, if you feel it doesn't feel like Halo to you, then hey, listen, who are we to argue the case in regards to what you're saying about Gears of War 5? I'm going to be honest with you. See, I'm on the other side of that conversation because I thought what they did in Gears 5 was masterful. I think that we have had enough Gears games where you had the tight, corridor type of shooting, go down an alley, see a bunch of burnt cars, some dead cogs, some dog tags. I think we had more than enough games of that ilk personally For me, I always wanted to explore the world of Gears and see it from a perspective that maybe I find something that you don't, because you want to run through the story. And when we have a conversation, it's like, yo, did you find this place on the map? No, I didn't really look. Well, you should, because it had this X gun or whatever. Now, for Halo, I understand that Halo is normally tight corridors. It's, a specific, you go this way, and if you keep going straight, you eventually get to the end of the level. I'm gonna be honest with you. If that was Halo Infinite, I would not be looking forward to the game, because we have played so many Halos that it's just like that. This is an opportunity to do things with Master Chief that we've never done before. And obviously, when we saw the breakdown of the single player footage where they showed the map, you can go to areas, you can ping the map and say, I'm going over here, and who knows what you're going to find. And I think that's great for the story building aspect of Halo that I want, because see, the thing is this, I don't read the Halo books, right? I would consider myself, I'm a diehard fan of Halo, but I don't know the lore like the back of my hand, like I would like for Resident Evil, because the Resident Evil I read the books, and even though Halo is probably has amazing books, I just never got into that lore. But if it's in the game and you give me as an explorer, as a game with a choice to get out there and take a look at the open world, which we know it's going to be semi-open world, I'm definitely okay with that. Pong, let's get your opinion on this. With the flighting having its second one this weekend, which had incredibly detailed graphics. I mean, you could see the step up from the first flighting to this flighting. Do you have high expectations for the single player?
Yeah, I do. I think that this is going to be, again, I'm casual Halo fan. So I always say that because, people in the chat need to know that stuff, because it's not like everybody out there is a fanatical Halo fan. So I'm a casual Halo fan. But with this flighting, what it has shown me is that 343, I think despite the rocky road, despite the long development time that it's taken to get this game to this point, I think that they finally have the formula down, and especially with the multiplayer. Again, that's what we've seen, and I'll talk about single player here in a second, why this translates. But I think with the multiplayer, again, a lot of people have liked, some people really liked 5, the movement and that kind of stuff, but didn't like all the, the special abilities and all that kind of stuff as well. I enjoyed all the Halos for their own kind of individuality. But I think this one here combines the best of all the worlds. And I think they've really found their mark here with this game. Again, playing the flighting this week, the map design is absolutely incredible. The map design is out of this world. And I was, in chat with Mav when I was playing Behemoth, because that's what I really wanted to play. And I'm waiting for Big Team Battle this weekend, because that's really that's what I enjoy. I'm a Battlefield
I'm right
guy.
there with you.
I'm a Battlefield guy. So give me my vehicles, give me my gigantic maps, give me as many players as you can. So that's what I'm waiting for. But Behemoth really, again, we've only seen a small sample size. I think there's going to be 20 plus maps.
23 maps at launch.
23 maps at launch.
Yeah.
So we've only seen a small sample size here, but every single one of these maps have given me a different experience. All of them, I feel, have given me the optimum Halo experience when it comes to what they use, the opportunities that they give people to play, because people forget a lot of times Halo at its core, as far as the multiplayer goes, is a sandbox shooter, right? So this gives people the videos that people have been coming out with the crazy movement, the crazy different kills that they've been able to actually pull off. That's what this is about. A lot like Battlefield, only in Battlefield. You get those only in Halo moments, right? And I think that's what this has shown us, that they have got this nailed down pat. And I think that the maps themselves have lended to a lot of that. They seem to be perfectly balanced, perfectly well placed, with all the power weapons and that kind of stuff. I think this is the best Halo experience I've had in a long, long time as far as multiplayer goes. Now, why I think that will translate into single player. They're going to try something new with single player with this semi-open, open world, whatever it's going to be. But I think that sandbox elements of the multiplayer are going to translate well. That's why I've been so excited to hop into the single player. That's why I was on the disappointed side about the co-op not being there, because I think the co-op is going to give you even more of that once it does get implemented. And I was looking forward to jumping into it with, Mav, 3-Bit, Steel, whoever, and really going and exploring the ring and finding what trouble we could get into and what kind of craziness we could have within the Halo universe. And I think that the open world 10-year kind of games as a service plan, again, I have zero problems with games as a service. I do not take that as a negative. I know some people do, but for me, this 10-year plan with the single player, now that they've kind of established, okay, look, we've got the multiplayer down pat. We are locked in. This is what you guys can expect going forward. This is going to be amazing. Once Forge launches, my God, I can't imagine what people are going to come up with this in this setup. But in the single player, I think, like you were talking about, Boom, for me, again, ODST is my favorite Halo, right? Casual Halo fan, but ODST told a different style story.
Indeed, it did, sir.
It really
Yes.
did. And I know some people don't like it. The purists don't like it per se. And that
Dude,
kind of stuff. And that's
one of
fine.
my favorite in the whole series.
Yep, exactly. And what I think this open world kind of games of a service style single player is going to allow them to do is to bring those extra stories in, all those stories that we are missing from the Halo lore, the Halo universe. Because I believe, and again, it's never sucked me in like other games have, like Mass Effect or whatever the case may be. But the Halo universe, if you just look at it, even from a neutral kind of point of view, is one of the best, most creative universes you could find out there in the science fiction world. And I think it has not been properly explored. And I think this is going to give them the chance to give us a bunch of different stories from different perspectives if they want to. And it's going to allow us to see just how expansive this universe actually is. And I think that is a great opportunity. That last trailer that they showed with I forget her name, the sergeant, God, I forget her name, how she went from the CGI trailer, how she went from being this kid, being, lost in the city, very ODST like,
Dude,
and being found by them, and then transitioning into one of the leaders, right? As a Spartan. I think that stuff, those stories that can be told along that range is what really adds a whole lot of flavor to Halo. And I hope that they take this opportunity. 10 years is a long time.
Yeah.
We saw Destiny 1 try it. That was their initial plan. It didn't work out. They launched Destiny 2, and they've done a fantastic job in expanding that whole universe over there with Bungie. But at this point, I think 343 really needs to take advantage of what they've got going on here and give us all the Halo lore they possibly can. Throw it at us. Give us these new stories every season. Give us this new opportunity to meet new characters outside of Chief and the well-known characters, and really flesh this out, because I think that's where it's going to shine. And again, just looking at the multiplayer, I know people have not liked the single player from 343 at times, and it's been flip-flop between 4 and 5. But I think this time with Joseph Staten back, and I think
Great
that the core is there, because again, he's one of the creative minds that formed this entire universe. I think we really are going to see for the first time a complete package. And Mav put out the tweet yesterday, I think it was, that he thinks this could be the best Halo that we've had. And I agree with him. I've said that multiple times. I think this really could be the return of the king. Not that it's ever gone away, because Halo has always been extremely popular, no matter what's happened in its past. But I think this time, I think they put it all together, single player, multiplayer, and I really think this could be the best, most complete experience that Halo fans around the world have ever gotten. And I think it's going to be a dominating force come this holiday.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree. Mav, what are your opinions on this, brother?
Just like Pong said, for me, like I understand, like everybody has their own personal takes, right? We completely respect anybody's opinion, whether what they think Halo feels like or doesn't. So Zimmy, I completely
Well,
respect
absolutely.
your opinion as well, even though I completely disagree with it 100%, and that's because this Halo Infinite multiplayer, going from the last flight, which I played a lot of, going into this flight, it feels like core Halo,
Yep.
but evolved to the max Halo potential. Like just like it's like taking the core essence of what Halo is and blowing it up to reach the full potential that Halo's always had. I don't know how 343 did it, but what I've played is my dream Halo multiplayer.
That's a great point, dude.
It is. I mean, going back to like back in the days when I was playing Halo 2 night after night for 8 hours a night, like for years, like 2 years nonstop. Then you just waiting for Halo 3 to come out and then doing the same thing all over again. Thinking then about potential of what Halo could end up becoming 10 years from then or 15 years. This was the vision that I hoped for. The freaking Behemoth map was freaking amazing.
It was as classic
Um,
a Halo map that I mean, it could not, in my opinion, been any better. I just thought it was as Halo-y as Halo could get.
yeah, I mean, you got the vehicles, you got
The launching
new
pads,
tools at your disposal that even though they're new things, they still feel like Halo with the repulsor thing, and then you got
dude, that
The
repulsor
skewer and
ridiculous.
the skewer. I
and
mean,
the electro
there's
grenades are amazing
there's-
when they disable vehicles. God, I love that.
there's moments that always had happened in Halo, and the tools and new things that they've put into this game feel like they belong.
Yeah,
They don't feel out of place for Halo to me. They feel like they should have always been there. And that like getting rid of all the like weird stuff they did like after Reach, right? With like abilities and loadouts and all these things, trying to make it more like Call of Duty, trying to make it more like Battlefield or whatever was the popular games at the time, right? This is just taking the core essence of Halo and building upon that and forgetting everything else, right? Forgetting the outside stuff. Let's just focus on what Halo fans want and let's make the best game we can freaking make. And then you make that, and that's so far. We haven't played Big Team yet. We're gonna get to try that this weekend.
Yep.
But so far with the arena, from the maps to the weapons to the character designs to the graphics to the fluidity and the smoothness of the gameplay and the animations and the cat and mouse gameplay where you have those individual battles one-on-one and you feel like you came out ahead, or I didn't do that well enough. Everything about it just screams freaking Halo, and I am all in on that baby because I freaking have always loved Halo, and it is amazing to see all this positive reception online. Because as a Halo guy, it has been draining for years to see this outright negativity.
It's gross.
Outright negativity.
Yeah.
And anytime there's the slightest bit of news, negative news, people are so quick to jump on this like Halo train of like, oh, Halo's trash. 343 doesn't know what they're doing. Halo's dead. Halo old game. Halo's basic. It's old school. Blah blah blah. You didn't see any of that during this beta. You saw nothing but people obsessively loving and having fun with the game.
I do have a question for you, Mav. You make a lot of great points on how they made a new Halo feel old, right? That in itself is the magic. Here's my question regarding single player. Where is your personal confidence in them transitioning exactly what you just said, right? Somehow figuring out a 343 way to make it feel like a Bungie told story making new Halo feel old, and seeing the distinct changes that came in multiplayer that felt like they should have been there. Do you think that we're going to see the same transition in the single player campaign?
I hope so, because if I get the movement, the fluidity of the movement and stuff with the, I mean, you're just like with the grapple shot and you're like jumping
I was
around
like
from platform
Spider-Man
to
all over the
platform.
place.
Yeah, dude, and not even then. It's like I'm hopping around from like ledge to ledge. Like there's so many like shortcuts you can take if you like jump in the right places and on these maps, and you can really get a flow with it. Just the fluidity of the movement and the freedom you have, and with the that's one thing like Halo 5 and Halo 4 is missing, right? Like you kind of felt a little clunky, like even though you could sprint, you felt like a vehicle that couldn't turn very well, right? When you're sprinting. Like this is like you have that freedom of movement and it feels like Halo 2 and 3, but like faster, right? And if they capture this same, well, I have hope for it because I'm hoping like your the movement and everything is going to be the same, right? If they take the core elements of the gameplay in your character and the like the grapple shot and all these things and allow you to freely roam and around this more open map, that just screams joy to me. Like I have so much hope for this, and not to mention, usually graphically, right, in games, you see a dip in multiplayer, right? Usually in games, when you play the single player, it's like, wow, this is the better looking experience, and you play the multiplayer, and it's just slightly less impressive, right? Graphically, the graphics on this freaking multiplayer were
Were
insane.
phenomenal.
Absolutely, the
Phenomenal.
textures everywhere, like the detail, like from the walls, the reflections in the gloves, like the wear on the gloves, the wear on the weapons, like the walls, like there's even like destruction with the environments and the railings and chairs and like just all this stuff going on. Gorgeous environments and gorgeous detail. I'm expecting no less from the campaign. If it hits that bar that they hit in the multiplayer, that's enough for me. And if they and what is usually happens in games is it's usually a little bit better. So graphically, I'm impressed. The only thing I got to figure out is like, what are they gonna do with the like? How are they gonna do the progression with the story? The progression with the story and the open world design that they're going with, right? Because that's going to be new for Halo.
Yep.
And if that's could like, I hope it doesn't become too like hub worldy, like Destiny ish, and you're able to freely move forward with the story and keep that cohesive experience going while still maintaining that open freedom. And that's the challenge that they probably, I would assume, as developers had with game design, making a single player uh, focused, story driven experience into an open world game, right? So we're gonna see how they transition that, and that's gonna be the core thing of what's gonna make this campaign what it is. So I can't wait to see that. But as far as just fun wise, playability wise, and movement wise, graphics wise, I have nothing but extremely high expectations and confidence
Yeah.
in them now from what I've so you there, Boom?
Boom. Yeah.
Oh, we
You,
lost.
you had to cough.
Sorry about that. I was drinking water and it went down the wrong pipe. So oh my goodness. Look, I'm gonna say this. First of all, hashtag F sprint cars because my
Oh
drive
yeah.
I'm drunk. But
Every time, Boom. Every time.
and this is not the first time that I've tried it. I keep going back to it like a boob, and I don't know why. But listen, here's the thing. There is look, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm hoping for a much different single player Halo because I have played all of the Halos already. And I don't necessarily know. I mean, do I want some tight corridors? Sure. Do I want it the whole game? Absolutely not. I did not like what they did in 5. That's that
Yeah.
I've said it 1,000 times. Not a fan of it at all. I'm hoping that because I know that a lot of people said you don't want Halo Infinite to become Destiny, and I get it. I completely hear the concerns. I don't think we're going to get that.
Yeah.
The reason why I don't think we're going to get that, guys, is because of Joseph Staten returning to take over the lead position in that studio. Do I think that people get nervous with the 10-year plan because it didn't work out for Bungie? But it is going to work out for 343. And I think it was Pong that was talking about the stories. If you guys remember, and this is going back a bit, the end of 2018, very early 2019, we had gotten that leak, quote unquote leak, that there were going to be a lot of returning characters that were going to be dropped in as single player story driven content. And I think that the first one is going to be that training sergeant. I think she's going to be the first one. We saw a glimpse of that through the trailer, right? I think we're going to get that I hope we get that with Locke. We find out because obviously we saw on one of the toys, Locke's helmet is a part of his armor, which means that Locke may be dead. And I would hate to, I mean, listen, I thought that what they did with Locke was interesting. They did not develop him enough to make me care about him. And I think that's why a lot of people walked away with Locke. Locke can take him or leave him. I think he's a very interesting character, but he had no build up to his story. So that was one of the biggest problems. I'd love to see Locke be a playable character in that story-driven type of, because we're going to see a lot of different things that we've never seen before with Halo. I'm looking forward to it. I know that the entire panel's looking forward to it. I know the entire chat that has over 300 people are going to be looking forward to it. Let me catch up with some of the super chats and we'll get everyone out of here. We have CO Merritt drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, buy Sega and let them work on older IPs like Banjo. I mean, that's everybody wants Microsoft to buy Sega. King One Supreme drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, Platonics. Banjo devs could be hired for a new Banjo. Dude, 100%. They did Ukulele, which is a spiritual successor. I believe it is in Game Pass. If you've never played it and you love Banjo Kazooie, definitely give that game a try. Michael Kullick drops not one but three super chats. The first one of $5 says, I think Microsoft should be more protective of the Banjo IP. You'll never see Nintendo share their IPs on Xbox. Moves like that, in his opinion, devalue the brand. I mean, again, that could be argued, but I completely agree with your point. Nintendo would never have Mario come over to Xbox, right? So, I mean, again, as a retro nerd, I would love to see it just because, Banjo Kazooie found life on Nintendo and it would be a coming home party of sorts. But that's just me being a nerd. He drops an additional $5, which says, I wonder if we'll see ray tracing at launch on Halo. I don't think so. And he says, considering that's one of the main reasons why they delayed it. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not a tech dude, but I think ray tracing is made too much of a big deal. I think it's going to come and go just like 3D TVs. I think it's important. But if you're going to take performance away for ray tracing, I say leave ray tracing in the bushes. That's just my opinion, but that's just me. And he drops an additional. Let's see what else. Another $5, which says they definitely need to keep Joe there if they're smart. Oh, I think he is going to look. I had a chance to meet the head of 343. Bonnie Ross is an incredibly talented woman. She's very passionate. Had an incredible conversation during E3 2019 with her. But I'm going to be honest with you. She's had a lot of Halos under her belt, and they have underperformed in major ways. Whether that be multiplayer, whether it be single player, or the Master Chief Collection. I think that having Joseph come back is a move to solidify that Halo doesn't lose its identity. He was, and will always be a part of the creation of Halo. He has been a part of every successful Halo that has ever released under under a Bungie, and I believe that he is going to have another notch in his belt with the release of Infinite. And again, taking nothing away from 343, they're incredibly talented developers, but having someone there like Joseph Staten is big, and I think he is going to eventually run that studio. That is my personal opinion. That is not facts. I do want to thank everybody that came out. We had over 350 people here once again. If you enjoyed today's program, please consider not only subscribing if you're not subscribed, but hitting the like button on your way out. Let's get to the outros, and we'll start first with Zemi. Zemi, thank you so much for being here. Even though we don't agree on all points, I still value your opinion. Please, brother, tell everyone where they can reach out to you on social media, potentially to have strike up a conversation that is fair and inquisitive. And also tell everyone about your YouTube channel where people can help you move on to 25,000 subscribers.
Yeah, absolutely. So my YouTube channel is called Constant Gamer. On that channel, I do gaming news, a few theory videos, a lot of tutorials, walkthroughs, and so on and so forth. Just a bunch of gaming content. If that's your type of thing, definitely drop by, check out the Constant Gamer YouTube channel, watch some videos, and if you like the content, hit that subscribe button. You guys can also follow me on Twitter at Zimmy Games, and I just post typical stuff that you'd expect me to post, such as gaming news. If I find an article that I think is interesting in the gaming space, I usually, post it there. And then, a long time ago, I used to put a lot of food pictures up. I think I'm going to start doing that again, Boom. I think I'm going to start taking
making
food
people
pics.
hungry.
yeah, making people hungry again. But definitely, follow me on Twitter at Zibby Games. And Boom, as always, man, fantastic show. And I will see you guys next Tuesday.
Yeah. Shout out to Lethal Terminus in the chat. He says, hopefully we at least see Locke lose the fight to Spartan killer Hyperius. Hyperius is the brute that has the helmet, and he also has Spartan fingers as a necklace, which is crazy. And a big shout out, speaking of Lethal Papa. He is obviously someone that's in here. He works tirelessly. And folks, if you come to this chat and you're like, damn, Boom, you got an incredible chat. I feel at home here. I feel like I don't even I know where the fridge is. I'm going to pick up a beer, or in my case, a Dr. Pepper. That's because of him. His tireless work has gone out of his way to get the mother effers that come to shows like this and Dealer and so many others, and they just want to ruin the flow. They want to ruin the excitement. And I honestly, I've thanked him privately, and I will thank him again publicly. Without Boss Mod Lethal Papa, this chat is filled with toxic a-holes, and it's not. And that's because of him. Lethal, love you, brother, and thank you so much for what you do. Pong Soul, we didn't get a chance to talk about it. There is a big controversy going on within the socials of Twitter. Colin Moriarty, who I have been a supporter of him for many, many years, went on a bit of a tirade. And I'm going to tell you this. We're not talking about it now. Otherwise, it'd be a 9-hour show. I 1,000% disagree with him. I don't know where this was motivated from. I'm going to be honest with you. I got to read more into it. I know Gaz, friend of this program from Game On Daily, the Source guy. Yeah, that Gaz. Went directly at him and wrote 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 monster paragraphs breaking down why he disagrees with him. I agree with Gaz. I'm going to look into this further. I might have to have this conversation on Thursday. I disagree with Colin on this. I think he's 100% wrong. But you, my friend, are going to be talking about this exclusively on Saturday's Living Split Screen with your brother from another, Steel Rain, who was a guest here last week. I am going to see if I can take a few minutes to be in on that conversation, which Mrs. Boom is probably going to be. She might be doing some other things that I can jump in. I got to be a part of that conversation. I know that you guys are going to be previewing that particular conversation as one of your main topics, please, brother, tell everyone where they can reach out to you on social media. Where could people tune in this Saturday for a raw and uncut view of this particular situation? And more importantly, what other shows are you on, brother?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Boom. What a great Tuesday, as always. Hey, you know what, Boom? Great audible call for the Avengers thing.
Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Man, awesome to get back into Speculation Town. Always love being there. Now with 3 co-mayors, including Mav. But no, this was a great show. Brothers, I appreciate all of your thoughts. Fantastic time today. Chat, you guys were amazing. Some really, really good conversation in there, and appreciate all the love and support from you guys. Nothing but respect for all of you for coming out here each and every week and supporting all of our shows. So again, like Boom was saying, you can find me Pong Soul, Xbox, Twitter. You'll find me with some more thoughts on Friday nights over at Xbox Ultimate. I'll let Mav handle that one, but the Magnificent 7 over there, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time on Friday nights. Come check us out. Otherwise, Saturday morning, set those alarms like Boom said. This Saturday, we're early in the week still. It's only Tuesday. We got some topics already. This is going to be a spicy one. If you guys haven't checked out Living Split Screen with myself, my brother from another Steel Rain, look, him and I go 3, sometimes even almost 4 hours. So on Saturdays, just him and I, we go deep dive across the industry. And this week is not going to be any different, especially with this Colin Moriarty stuff. I've got some things to say. I'm sure Steele's definitely going to have some things to say about this. I'm going to break down a counter opinion to him. I respect him, and I respect the guys over there at Sacred Symbols for sure. I've watched them for a very long time, but this one here was abyss, and so I'm going to definitely counter that.
Yeah, it was a bit of a head scratcher. Look, I'll say this. Let me get this right out there to add to your point.
Yeah.
Not only do I respect Colin,
Mm-hmm.
I like that dude so much so that I've supported him with being a part of Patreon for years until I stopped it. Right. Again, eventually, you got to stop these things. I have supported him. Obviously, our brother, is a part of that family over at Sacred Symbols. Obviously, yeah, Cognito is a part of his company. So of course, we love what Cog does, and he's been an incredible addition to them. I think it made them better.
Oh yeah,
1000%.
Oh yeah.
But again, I saw the clip. I read what Gaz had to say, and again, I don't hate him. I don't dislike him because it's his opinion. But I gotta say, it was a bit of a head scratcher, Pong.
Yeah. There's some intellectual dishonesty. Colin is extremely intelligent person.
Yes, he is,
and
smartest guy in the room every time,
and very well thought out with his opinions on most of the time. And this one here, I felt that there was some intellectual dishonesty because they didn't address. They used the old Xbox instead of actually bringing up the fact that we are in a whole different world right now, and a whole different industry and a whole different Xbox. Correct. Exactly. Gone. And I think that's where he lost it. The argument.
And again, to your point, and again, we don't want to keep this going forever, but when he's the Microsoft he's talking about is if Terry Myerson is still there.
Correct.
And it is again for someone as sharp as he is.
Correct.
I didn't understand the angle.
Right, exactly. And that's where I'll be addressing point by point on Living Split Screen. So Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time, 3 p.m. UK time. Join me and Steele. We will be up. We'll be ready to rock and roll. Be there or be square. But we will definitely have some big opinions on a lot of different things happening this week. And again, it's still early. Who knows what else is going to happen? So love this industry because of that. There's always something to talk about. Saturday night shop podcast, PTK, Blam, Centurion, Fuzzy Belvedere, and myself, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time, 6 p.m. Arizona time, as PTK likes to say. Come by, drop by. We had Lord Cognito last week. Absolutely fantastic show. PTK always knocks it out of the park with his guests. So come by and see us there. Otherwise, I'll be back here next Tuesday. Say it every week. You can continue to say it every show. Golden age of gaming is here, gamers. Enjoy all of this. We have so much content It's not even funny anymore. This is the best time to be a gamer and be alive. So enjoy it all. Stay positive, play what you love what you play. And I'm going to talk to you all real soon.
Thank you so much for that. And of course, last and in no way least, Mav, it was great to have you a part of this conversation. I know you can't always be here, but when you here, you bring the fire. Please, brother, talk about Fun Pop. Talk about the Magnificent Seven in Xbox Ultimate. And of course, please, by all means, talk about your newly announced podcast on Saturdays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I think what you're doing is amazing work. The growth that you have seen on YouTube is the hard work that you and your beautiful wife, Caitlin, continue to do. You're a positive force in the gaming space. Take it away. Oh, you're muted, brother.
Wow. Okay. Sorry about that, man.
Listen, it happens to me, and I'm the freaking host, so it's okay.
Yeah, or you choke on water during the show.
Hey, there you go. There you go.
Hey, sorry about that. Hey, I appreciate the kind words, and also, hey, I put on Twitter when I announced the show, and you made a nice comment. I mean it. Like, you set a great example, right?
Thank you.
Of how to run a show, how to develop a community, how to keep that same energy, right? All of these things, you know what I mean? To just like a genuine guy that has shows you like talking about games and all this stuff, and that's exactly what I want to do, right? It's exactly like what I like to do. So we announced a new show that is going to give me opportunity to talk about more than just Xbox with gaming, right? Because when people show up to Xbox Ultimate podcast, I don't want to sit there and talk an hour about PlayStation, bad mouthing PlayStation, Nintendo, or any of that stuff. But so looked for like-minded, just people that like kind of play on everything. And when I say like-minded, I don't mean have the same opinions. I mean don't go out of the way to be toxic individuals, right? Like we're just looking to have a discussion about gaming, and regardless of what the news is, and we're gonna have fun doing that on the news show, and that's gonna be starting on October 9th, and that's FSP Fun Speculation Podcast. So looking to make that a big part of what we do in the future. So look out for that, guys. Plus, Xbox Ultimate, as you know it, it's my preferred place to play. It's what I think I'm going to talk about the most. So that's the platform for that. And that is Friday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern with the Magnificent Seven, which includes Pong Soul, 3-Bit, Lady AF, Psychonauts, my beautiful wife, Caitlin, Assassin Lupa. We've had some people away for a little bit, taking hiatuses, got lots of stuff going on and stuff, but we're all going to get back together soon. And Fun Pop Wednesday nights, Marvel, DC, Star Wars, all that cool stuff. That's going to be Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Just love the community we're building on Fun Speculation on YouTube. That's the channel where you can find all these shows, and also game streaming and all that stuff. So just love the community, love this community, including your chat. Boom, you have one of the best chats out there.
Yeah,
And
best of the best.
and
Really,
panels
there's just
too.
a bunch of gamers that want to talk about games. No
You
toxicity. Yeah, it's
you
great.
surround yourself with great people like Zimmy, Pong, and everybody else out there. So just keep it going, man.
Well, thank you so much for being there. Listen, folks, I want to thank everybody who was nice enough to drop a super chat. And obviously, we have turned those super chats around, and we have done a bunch of monster giveaways. Friday's Breakfast with Boom, which of course was Boom's birthday bash, $450 worth of prizes were given away, and that's we can't do it again. I'm retired, folks. I'm just on one pension, brother. So you gotta take what you get from the community and give it back. That's one of our driving forces, and I say we, Mrs. Boomstick and I, is giving back. That's what we love doing. Christmas with Mr. and Mrs. Boomstick is going to be big, and I'm going to be making an announcement on another addition to giveaways that comes from Mrs. Boom. She's going to make that announcement. We're talking about that in the next couple of weeks. So look forward to that. And of course, all you got to do is tune in. That's it. It's nice and simple. Now, again, if you drop a super chat, you get an extra additional entry. If you're a channel member, you get a third entry, and it just raises your chance of getting a prize. And of course, it helps us do these things. But of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that is important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my father taught us when we were kids. And he said, son, treat others how you want to be treated. Also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, and I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone, and we'll see you on Thursday's new episode of the Xbox Factor podcast.